How do you like your PC case? With giant front case fans, stacks on stacks of hard drives, on a train, in a plane, as part of a delicious sandwich? This case does it all. Maybe not that last one though. Unless you want to. It probably wouldn't taste very good. This is the Core V71 ThermalTake's take on a super modular, super spacious PC. It's apparently the first case that's able to fit 4 200mm fans. I did some searching and I couldn't find another case that can do that. You guys should let me know if I'm wrong though. ThermalTake has really tried to give you options for however you want to set up this case with lots of interior space, as well as a plethora of possible fan configurations, as well as very modular hard drive bays. So yeah, but enough talk, let's unbox it. So here it is right out of the box. Let me just peel this plastic off because that's always a fun thing to do. Delicious. All right, so ThermalTake has constructed the case mostly out of thick steel with some ABS plastic in parts, but it definitely feels sturdy. This is not one of those cases that rattles around when you touch it. It weighs 13.2 kilograms or 29 pounds, so it definitely has that heft to it. The case is 583 by 230 by 560 millimeters, or 23 by 9.1 by 22 inches. It is not a small case, but at the same time, not the largest full tower we've ever seen either. On the front, we have a steel panel perforated with lots of tiny holes for air, and 2 5¼ inch drive bays up top. That is surrounded by plastic, which attaches it to the body, and you can remove the front panel by pulling from the bottom little handle down here. Once we do take that front panel off, we can see the large dust filter behind it with a honeycomb-like design, as well as foam protecting the 2 drive bay doors up here to prevent dust to get in there if you don't have a drive there. Now behind the front panel, we've got 2 200mm blue LED fans for air intake. ThermalTake is not messing around with cooling here. And those can also be replaced with either 2 140mm or 3 120mm fans, as well as a 420 or 360mm radiator. Moving to the top of the case, we've got a very tall panel, again with plastic on the sides and perforated metal on top. For the I/O, we have a central power button lit by an LED. On this side, 2 USB 2s, 2 USB 3s, a headphone and mic jack. And on the other side, we have the reset switch up top there, the hard drive LED, and 2 fan controller buttons, one for high speed, one for low speed, and as well as a fan LED switch that will switch the LED off and on. Now we can also pull off the top panel just like we do the front. Just be aware that you need to have the front panel off already before you try and take off the top panel, just so you're aware. So we grab this little handle here and we just pull, and it comes off. And under the top panel, we again have another hexagonal dust filter. So that's nice to see. I pulled that out the wrong way. You're supposed to pull it out the other way, through the back. I'll show you that. See, here's the back of the case. You pull it out like that. Now up here we have one more 200mm blue LED exhaust fan with room for one more right there. So you could have 4 200mm fans altogether. 1, 2 on the top, 3, 4 on the front. And this is apparently the first case that can claim that. And again, up here you can replace the 200mm fan with 2 140mm or 3 120mm fans, or again, 420 or 360mm radiators. Now I should mention these 3 200mm fans that are included in this case are connected to the fan controller up here by default. There's only 2 connectors on it, but the 2 in the front are connected to a splitter and they're both in one of the inputs. That's cool to see the fan controller integrated and easy to get to right up there. It's also nice to see the fan connectors have a rubber sleeve, which appears to be quite durable, so that's nice to see. Now let's take a look at the rear of the case, the booty, as my grandma used to say. You got 3 grommets up top here for cables or water cooling pipes. Grommets! And a 140mm fan that can also be replaced by a 120mm. You have 8 PCIe slots, a power supply cutout down here, and some holes for the airs and stuff on this side. So that's just some holes. Now here's a nice little addition. It's a lock for your cables. It's called the keyboard and mouse security lock, I think is that's what they called it in the manual. There's a thumb screw inside the case that releases it, so you can put your keyboard and mouse cables through there, or what have you, if you're, say, at a LAN event and you don't want some dingle hopper to jack your peripherals. Those things have dingle hoppers aplenty. All right, let's go to the bottom. We've got 1.5-inch feet here with foam pads on the bottom rather than rubber. So I kind of like foam here. It protects your case from whatever surface you're on, and it's a little easier to slide your case if you just need to move it a little bit. So that's nice, but whatever you like. And there's also 2 large removable dust filters on either side to cover the entire bottom surface area. Sometimes cases will have just one that doesn't really cover the whole bottom of it. So that's nice to see that they cover the entire bottom. Time to look at the side of the case. We got a big old plastic window here, as you can see, giving you a very nice view of the internals. And on the other side, we have a solid steel door. Now, the thumb screws on the side doors actually can stay in the door when you unscrew them, so you don't have to completely unscrew them. The window has sort of a swing out design. There's a bar up top that lets you swing it out and then remove it. So that's pretty cool. It's not like the full-on swinging door we see on Corsair's 760T, but it is kind of nice. Inside the case, we've got the hard drive bays, obviously, and inside one of those, a bag containing mounting screws and all that, as well as a power connector extension cable for when your power supply can't reach all the way to the top of the case, and a little buzzer to connect your motherboard speaker to give a warning beep if something's wrong. And there's also some cable ties in there, so that's nice. It also comes with the user's manual and the warranty booklet. The Core V71 does come with a 3-year warranty from ThermalTake, so just so you know. Now that we have the side panels off, we get a better look at the 140mm turbo fan in the back, they call it, the exhaust fan, and it's got its power connector nicely tied up in its rubber sleeve, very well protected. We have a very large CPU cutout in the back with standoff supporting micro-ATX, standard ATX, and E-ATX boards. This case supports CPU coolers up to 185mm or 7.3 inches, and GPUs up to 310mm with the hard drive cages in place. Without those, you can go up to 400mm actually. We'll talk about removing the hard drive cages later. We also have numerous grommets here for cable management. Grommets, I love grommets. Although I did notice that the flaps on the grommets themselves are very thin, or they seem very thin compared to some other cases. At the end of the day, they're just holes for your cables to go through and they won't be damaged, but I just noticed that the flaps are a little thinner than the rubber compared to other cases, so just nitpicking. Here we have the I/O cables, and separate from that, a Molex connector that powers the fan controller. Now on the bottom we have a power supply supporting bridge with rubber stoppers on top to hold the power supply in place and prevent vibration. It also lifts the power supply off the bottom surface slightly for better airflow, and the length of the bridge itself can be adjusted to accommodate power supplies up to 9 inches long, which is about as long as power supplies get, as far as I know. Also along the bottom, we have room for a 120mm or 240mm radiator, or 2 120mm fans. And that brings us to the drive cages over here. So up top, you've got a 5.25-inch drive bay with a toolless installation design, as well as the 5.25-inch bay up here, but that is not toolless. You'll need to screw it into that one. And down here, you've got 8 3.5-inch or 2.5-inch drive trays, as well as 2 slots on the other side. So theoretically, you could have 10 drives altogether in here, but I looked on ThermalTake's website for replacement drive trays and couldn't find them. So it looks like 8 is the max, unless you can magically find more of these drive trays. Now the drive trays themselves are a toolless design as well, with a latch here that you need to unhook in order to pull them out. There are removable pins on the side and rubber stoppers that will keep 3.5-inch drives in place, and those are actually really cool. These are super easy to put a drive into. But for 2.5 inches, you'll still need to screw like an SSD into the bottom of it. Now these cages are very modular. There's actually 3 separate cages here. This one has 2 trays in it. This is 3, and this is 3 as well. And you can reorder them however you want. You can go 3-2-3 or 3-3-2 or whatever you want. And obviously, with them all removed, you've got a ton of room in there for a water cooling reservoir and radiators and all that if you want to take them all out. However, in order to remove a cage, there are actually 6 screws for each cage that you have to unscrew. So that's a little annoying, but you know, at least they're secure. You can also remove this central support here. If you're not using any of the drive bays, you can just take that right out. It's attached with 2 thumb screws at the top and 2 at the bottom there. Now, without taking those drives out, we were able to fit a 12-inch 7990 in there, which is a pretty big card. It's the dual GPU card from last generation. So I don't think you'll have trouble in the GPU department. If you are putting a radiator in the front here, you'll probably want to take at least one cage out so you'll have room to get at it. But the point is that you can basically do whatever you want with the interior, which is really nice to see. It's finally time to look at the other side. Now, we've got 2 extra slots here for storage drives. So again, if you're only using 2 drives, you could just stick them back here and take all the drive cages out on the other side and have some extra room. Now, I found the mechanism to be kind of finicky for putting the cage in, but once you figure it out, you're golden. So it could also be possible I'm just not smart. So what you do is you line up the bottom of the cage with these bits here, and you hook the top over this little snappy doohickey thing, and you just press it in until it snaps. I made that look really easy. The first time you try to do that, it might be a little hard, who knows? Be aware though that if you do have cages on the other side with hard drives in them, you will be blocking your SATA cables from coming out here. So just so you're aware. Now there's not much else to comment on this side except that there are nice little hoops on the back here for cable management to tie your cables to, so that's nice. So what's the bottom line with this case? I put the front and the sides and everything on back together so it looks nice. Basically, you can do whatever you want with it. It has some of the most extensive options for cooling I've seen in a case. It's apparently the only case allowing 4 200mm fans. You can put whatever radiators you can think of in it, so those are all awesome. Some of the more modular aspects of the case are slightly more difficult to use, like the fact that you have to take 6 thumb screws out to remove every hard drive cage. But in the end, those things make the case more sturdy, like the beast it is. Overall, if you're an enthusiast looking for crazy options in your case, this is not a bad choice at all. The Core V71 is available at NCIX now. Click here to check it out there, but wait! For the next 2 weeks from when this video is posted, use this code. I don't know what the code is going to be yet. And you'll get a $14.99 flat shipping rate, which means it doesn't matter where you are, you'll only pay $14.99 for shipping. Do you guys like your cases super crazy modular, or do you just like it to look nice? Leave a comment. That pretty much wraps it up for this unboxing and overview of the ThermalTake Core V71. Thanks for watching, guys. Like or dislike the video, whatever floats your boat. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this from NCIX.